Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Caleb and welcome back to another JavaScript tutorial. Today we are still continuing our Objects 2 course and we're getting down with some privacy please. We're going to be learning about public and private properties and methods of objects. Now guys, if you're not already over in Codecademy.com, make sure to head over there now. Also, make sure you're viewing this video full screen. 720p really helps out because you can get a nice, real, crisp image and see what I'm typing in through the editor here. Also guys, if you aren't already subscribed, make sure to subscribe and like this video. It really helps me out a lot. And guys, the last thing I want to say is just I'm sorry I've been pretty busy, or not pretty busy, I've been extremely busy here in the past week or two. And I know it's a little late to get this video out there, and I know some of you guys were counting on this video to be here sooner, and I just want to go ahead and apologize for that. I'm going to get all these videos up and out by the weekend, if not before Sunday. So the sooner the better. And without further more ado, let's go ahead and start by going over the Codecademy and starting our privacy please. So enough of me rambling on. Let's get started and let's reset our editor. So, open to the public. In JavaScript, all properties of an object are automatically public. Public means that they can be accessed outside of the class. Think of these properties as the information a class is willing to share. Look at the person class. It has three public properties: the first name, the last name, and age. On lines 8 and 9, we access the first name and last name properties of John and assign them to my first and my last, which are variables. Notice that we are free to access the first name and last name properties, which is what we mean when we say they are public. So, as you can see here, essentially what they're saying is, whenever you say John.firstName, it's referring to our object John, which has the first name property, which was created by our person class whenever we first initialized John as an object. And so John's first name would obviously be John, and his last name would be Smith. But since these are public properties, or as you can see down here, we're creating a variable called myFirst, and public just means that you can access them. So right now we're declaring a variable called myFirst, which equals to John's first name. And if this property wasn't public, you wouldn't be able just to be like, oh, hey John, what's your name? And it's going to tell you, oh, my name's John. It's going to be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about because I am not a public property. I am a private property. You don't need to know my name. It's essentially what it's saying whenever it is a private compared to a public property and or variable. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a later exercise. I think it's the second one whenever we get into the private. And you'll see how we use that by using the var statement. But without furthermore trying to confuse you guys, let's go ahead and just do what it wants us to add, or let's do what it's asking us to do. And all it wants us to do is just come down here and create a new variable called myAge. I can't type. Var myAge equals John. Jeez, I can't type. John.age. And what this will do, that's so wrong. There we go. So now that we have a new variable called myAge, and we're referencing it to John, which is our object, and whatever his age may be, which in this case, John has an age of 30. Now you may be wondering, okay, well, how do you know that? Well, if you just go ahead and read this line here on line 7, a quick overview, it's making a new variable called John, which really it's creating a new object using the person class, which is defined up here. And you know this is a class right off the bat because it's a capital letter right here. Now, not only does it make a new object or a new person object named John, or referred to as John, it also sets his first name. As you can see, we have three parameters that we're passing in through our class. We have a first, a last, and an age. Now, we're passing through John, Smith, and 30. And as you can see within our person class, we're assigning the first name of our person to the first parameter that we passed through, along with the last name to the last parameter we passed through, and also the age to the age. And this is essentially, it's just creating our John object, giving him a first name, last name, and age by these parameters. So hopefully you guys followed along with that. If not, just go ahead and save and submit your code. It's all good. Way to go. So let's start the next lesson. Hopefully you guys got the green light. And once again, let's just reset our code. Private variables. Good. But what if an object wants to keep some information hidden? Just as functions can have local variables, which can only be accessed from within that function, objects can have private variables. Private variables are pieces of information you don't want to publicly share, and they can only be directly accessed from within the class. The person class has been modified to have a private variable called bank balance. Notice that it looks just like a normal variable, but it is defined inside the constructor for person, which using this, or it is not using the keyword this, but instead it's using the keyword var. This makes bank balance a private variable. So I kind of read that wrong, but just to clear it up, the only difference between a public and a private variable is to make a private variable, first of all, it has to be within the class. And this right here, this is our class. Alright? Now, for it to be private, it has to be declared with the var statement. Really, okay, you're like, okay, well that's just like creating another variable. Why is it private? Well, it's only private because it's within this class. Now, if this variable was outside of this class, it would no longer be private, it would now be public. But since we're declaring a new variable within this person class, it is only accessible, and like pretty much you can only see this variable from within this class. So if I were to say console.log bank balance right here within this class, it's going to print out 700 or 7,500. But if I was going to say console.log bank balance outside of here, and really let me just go ahead and do the demonstration of that. And you won't be able to see something. You probably get like a undefined or can't find this reference. You're going to get some kind of an error. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this just for you guys' sake in demonstration. Bank balance is not defined. So let's go right here and try this. So, okay, it's not printing out. So that was a major fail on my part. It's just saying it's not doing anything because it keeps telling us that we're going to fail it. But let's go ahead and do what it wants us to say, and then hopefully, I really think this does demonstrate the private and the public. So it wants us to create an object, John, using the person constructor. We can have any name and age you wish. Next, try to print the bank balance. What happens? Okay, so I should have just read the directions first without trying to make a fool of myself trying to explain some things. But hopefully you guys kind of follow along there, even though it was a failed demonstration. That was bad on my part. But let's go to line 9 and just go ahead and type var John equals new person. Not clearly racist, person. Now we can say whatever we want. So I'm going to say Caleb H15. Bam. Alright, so there's John. Now we just console.log John.age. I think it wants us to, or no, it doesn't want to. It wants us to call out his bank balance. So now that we're trying to referencing John's bank balance, which is a private variable, it shouldn't do anything. Let's see what we get. So yeah, so you see here we do get an undefined because it's not defined because it's a private variable. We're not within our class. And once again, I'll go back here. We're calling this log statement outside of this class. So that's why we're getting our undefined. If we were to call it within here, we should get something that says, oh, hey, yeah, it's 700 or 7,500 instead of undefined. But let's go ahead and save in some of our code. If you get the undefined, that's good. Just make sure you get the green light down here. And let's start our next lesson. And once again, let's reset our code, or our editor. Accessing private variables. Although we cannot directly access private variables from the outside of the class, there is a way to get around this. We can define a public method that returns the value of a private variable. If you're rusty on functions and return values, check out the function lessons. The instructions are, here we have included similar code from the last time. But here we have added a method getBalance. Modify getBalance so that it returns the bank balance. Then create a new variable named myBalance and set its value to John's bank balance. You can do this by calling your newly defined getBalance method for John, then print myBalance. Line 14 should still be printed, or line 14 line 14 should still print undefined. Okay, so now that we have all that read, first things first, let's go within our getBalance function. So it wants us to return the bank balance. Now remember, bank balance is a private, but we can access this because we are within the person class. So all we have to do here essentially is just return our bank balance. And that's just going to refer back up to this private variable, and it's going to be like bam. Now you may be wondering, okay, well, why are we going to use private variables? Why don't we just use public variables? Well, if you were a genius and you were to somehow get into this and say you were to hack into a bank, if they made everyone's bank accounts public, you are now able to access the information. For example, say this person has $7,500 in their account. Not only can you access this information, you can also modify it. So you can just be like, okay, well, they have $0, or you can change it and they can be like, oh, they have $1 million or $1 billion. Whichever you feel like. So that's why they make it as private. So you can't access it, and it's hidden from the public, in other words. And that's why in this case we use the getBalance function here, which we just declared, and we're referencing the bank balance. Now, when we call this function, it's not going to modify this variable. It's only going to reference it. So whatever is already assigned to it is going to stay that way. So if we were to call this, it's just going to return 7,500, and we can't modify this at all because it is, once again, like I said, it's a private variable. So enough of me rambling on about that. That was a little side note there. But let's go down here to line 17, and first we can read line 16, which says create a new variable myBalance that calls getBalance. Okay, well, to do this, all we have to say var excuse me, guys. We just say var myBalance space myBalance BALANCE equals John dot getBalance, and this will call our getBalance, which returns our bank balance, which essentially is just 7,500. And then on line 18 we just be like, yo, console dot log, and we can just say myBalance. And what this will do is it's going to log myBalance, which is right here. Well, myBalance is a variable which is assigned to John.getBalance. Well, that is a public function or method within the person class. So if we go up into our person class right here, this is my getBalance, and as you can see, it's returning the private variable bank balance, which is defined right here. So when it all comes down to it, we should see 7,500, and we should also see a undefined up at the top. So let's see what we get first. So save and submit, and we do get an undefined, and we also get a 7,500. So that was correct. Moving on to the next lesson and resetting our code. Private methods. Methods can also be private within a class and inaccessible outside of the class. Changing this .return balance from the last exercise to var return balance makes this method private. If you run the program trying to access the method, you get an undefined error this time. The way to access a private method is similar to accessing a private variable. You must create a public method for the class that returns the private method. Okay. So essentially the same thing. Instead of returning a variable, we're just going to return a method. The instructions are, create a method called askTeller. with the person class that returns the return balance method. Because askTeller returns a method, we need to call it to make it any use. This is what var myBalance equals myBalance method does. So as we can see here, they return our return balance into a private method using the var statement. Now to make our new statement, our askTeller, we definitely need to use this. And this will make it, using the keyword this, will create a public method, in other words. So askTeller equals function. These should not have, what am I doing? Okay, there we go. Got a little cuckoo crazy on me. Okay, so now that we got this dot askTeller equals function, all we're going to do now is just return, and then we're going to say return bank balance. Or return balance. There we go. And now make sure to put your little parentheses on that because that is a method itself. And essentially, we're just referring to this public method up here called return balance. So return balance, okay, that looks good. And now that we have that, I'm not sure if it wants us to console.log it. I think we're good, so let's go ahead and try and save and submit our code. Okay, so we got an undefined, and then we also got this type error property, myBalance method of object 0 is not defined. So let's see if we can fix that right quick. Even though we got the green light, let's see if we can fix that. Okay, so I think it's this one right down here. Let's just comment this out and run it again. Okay, that was not the right one. Let's comment this out. Okay, either or, let's see here. myBalance, see myBalance method. It really doesn't matter. Who cares? I don't feel like going through this. It's going to take up too much time. So, you can explore this on your own. Read the Q&A down here at the bottom if you have any questions. I'll go in more depth if you guys really want me to go in depth about it. Just send me a comment or a PM and I'll just go in depth about it. But don't have the time right now. So let's reset our editor and passing arguments. The askTeller function has been modified with the person class to directly give you your balance. However, it now needs the account password parameter in order to return the bank balance. Okay, so now we're getting a little complex, requiring a password. Instructions. Create a new variable called myBalance that calls the askTeller function with a password parameter 1234. So if we just go ahead and read this, as you can see, we still have our person class. Now we have a public method called askTeller, which takes in a pass, and it's checking if our password that we sent through our askTeller method is equal to 1234. Then it's going to return our bank balance. Now you may be like, okay, well, our if statement looks a little weird. Why isn't there any curly braces? Well, a little side note that they didn't tell you guys is that whenever you use an if statement and it's just comparing, if it's just returning like one line of code, if it's just one line of code within it, you don't have to use the curly braces. So that solves that, or that answers that question, in other words. But as you can see, they also have the else with, once again, it's all in the same line, so there's no curly braces needed. The else here, as you can see, there's no curly braces as well, and it's just returning wrong password. So if we go down here, we have a new John person, once again John Smith, who is 30 years of age. So now it says the variable myBalance should access askTeller with a password as an argument. So var myBalance equals John.askTeller, because we're going to ask the teller. Not only are we going to ask her, but we're also going to pass in 1, 2, 3, 4 as our password. We just be like console.log, and we just say my balance. So essentially what this is doing, we created a new variable, right? It's called my balance. Okay. Well, my balance equals our John.askTeller method. Okay, so we look at our method once again. You see we passed in 1, 2, 3, 4. So essentially, if it compares the 1, 2, 3, 4 password with the 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to return our bank balance. Well, our bank balance is 7,500. But if it's the wrong password, my balance down here is no longer going to equal 7,500. It's going to equal wrong password. So, save and submit our code and see what we get. And we get the 7,500. So, it was correct. Alright guys, congratulations, you finished this section. We just got one more to go and then a final project, which I've already had that video for quite some time. I don't know why I haven't uploaded it yet. But I hope this video helped you guys out. If you have any questions, and also if you want me to go in further detail about the exercise 4, I'll probably just leave it in the comments or something. I'm not sure what I'll do with that. But yeah, if you guys want to know why, and if you don't look at the Q&A down here at the bottom, make sure to do that if you ever get stuck, or just read your little hints or something if you get stuck. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching another video. Don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe for more in future videos. It really helps me out a lot. Until next time, guys, have a wonderful day, and have a, let's see, it's 8:18, so have a wonderful night, I would say, and a beautiful morning tomorrow. Alright, guys, until next time, it's been Caleb. Peace.